Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast.
Okay, so what I would do first, this is why I parent my child the way I parent her. What I would do first is learn and know who my child is and ask her how she feels about this person. Because kids are more or less clairvoyant. They can sense you before you can sense certain stuff, if that makes sense. So I want to know what her feelings and emotions are towards this, so I know how to broach my partner. Because I don't want to broach my partner about my kid and make them have a relationship whole time. She been feeling some type of way low key from the jump, and I never asked her. I never said nothing to her because she's like, I don't know, it's something about him. But then on top of that, having a conversation with my partner about who my child is, what she likes, what she doesn't like, and vice versa with him and his children. Then having another conversation about who his child's mother is, or children's mothers are, whatever the case may be. Because people be crazy, and I don't have time for that. I'm not gonna lie. If you got a kid that's under 5, I'm not dealing with it. You wanna know why? Because 9 times out of 10, you're still dealing with her. That's what our generation got going on.
So Jayla, let me ask you a question. Something that you just said was, you said children are clairvoyant. And they know 9 times out of 10 you before you know them, or before the parent knows the child. Do you think, mom's got a huge personality, massive personality. Did you have your guard up meeting her? Did you see her before she saw you? What was that like? Don't scratch.
It was never me seeing her before she saw me. I never got like she's a bad person. I never got that type of feeling. I never got I always could feel like she was definitely like, if I touch it, it's gonna bite me, or no. But like, no, seriously.
She said, like, if she touch it, it's gonna bite me.
Like how people be with animals. Like, I don't know if I want to pet it because it looks nice, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like she was on that type of vibe. But from my previous before her, I was like, what is this?
Right. Because
of what I experienced, and I'm like, I would hate to have to go through this again. So no, I never saw anything negative. I know for a fact around that time, I was seeing colors around people. So I guess I would see people's auras, but her aura was like purple and like a goldish yellowish color. So it's not a bad thing. The other lady was very dark.
So what was, for you, Jessica, and this sounds kind of backwards, how did you view my personality? I mean, we're like completely different when it comes to like humor and just the way we operate. I mean, we complement each other. So how did you see my personality? How have you been able to control or tone or manage my personality?
The biggest thing that stood out about your personality to me was, first of all, seeing someone who wound up with full custody of his 3 children. You were a single dad with your children from your first marriage. To me, that spoke one of the most desirable characteristics about someone that I have been seeking, which was commitment.
Family. Oh.
And commitment to the kids, and family, right. But, because it takes a lot, because all I had seen was men walk away.
I tried, it didn't work.
You did, but after the fact, yeah.
In both cases.
And so,
hold on.
He's talking about both cases.
When he tried to leave us, like, we came with you, dude. Like, literally, we came with you. We were in your body, and you're gonna leave us? That's crazy.
Going to the party. Wait, you was all right.
But
So
see, but like we said before, like y'all didn't even know that stuff was going on. Y'all, you didn't know until we started doing this podcast that he literally packed a bag on me twice. He was close the third time, and I said, "You tried a third time, 3 strikes and you're out for real, for real.
Yeah.
That's a wrap."
That's another thing when managing conflict. When I get into a family, is just to have conflict away from kids.
Yes,
because they don't need to see and hear everything. But
and I'm grateful
that does
that's
something to a child to see their parent argue all the time.
Yeah,
it just do something. Then I feel like had we seen you and dad arguing all the time because you're not my biological parent, I probably would have grown a unnecessary like resentment towards you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because y'all were arguing, and it's like, you know, yeah.
yeah, I think we did a great job of that, concealing those times of intense adult conversations, because I think subliminally we understood just that and how that would impact each of you potentially, you know, how that would impact your perception of us.
Well, and it was adult stuff. You know, so it wasn't even that we, and we never even like.
We didn't talk about it.
We never even
just
made a
operated that way.
decision. That's just how we. Now that was one thing that did come natural to us is we did have an equal expectation on as far as we are not going to do that, right? Like we tried. While there were some times that, and I can own it was more me. And it wasn't, I never like intentionally tried to undercut, you know, your authority. It wasn't like that.
It wasn't
Again,
intentional. It was an accident.
It,
It was
well,
by accident.
so, but you have to, when you, just like however many episodes ago, you were saying your intention was to protect me, right?
And it was.
Okay.
It always is.
My intention was to protect my children when in the instances where I inserted myself into the situation where I felt like you were going. And that wasn't even just Jayla. There was times with her. I'll never forget the time she came. I was so livid with you when you had been out with your cousin and you had driven the purple path, the pilot, and y'all was wound up into an altercation with some females.
Joe, we went to Cobblestone. Oh my gosh. Those girls
we
were
wound up getting a
tweaking.
call,
Bro, and we would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you, Jasmine. And you calling because you was crying and you was scared. Like they wasn't going to give us nothing, baby. They were just going to write our name down and we were going to go.
But nonetheless.
But when Dad threw Malachi with that ottoman, I was like, oh, Jayla. Woo! That was a crazy time.
I felt like
Y'all make me into this.
Well, no,
this
No,
ogre,
what
man.
be crazy is I feel like most dads are actually like this. And it's so funny because it's like you're not the only parent, because I've heard stories like what we've experienced, like that is nothing. Okay. I know dads that are like, when that switch turns on, it doesn't turn off until they get their roll off of how angry they are. And that is terrible. That's scary. That can cause.
But see, that's that because so imagine this, and this is why again, having conversations about, you know, what's the expectation around discipline out the gate is super important, because of context. I know you and I have talked about this before too, and I don't know if you recall this, but remember, I didn't grow up with like with my dad, and while Nana is Nana, it is still very different to grow up in a household with male discipline, in my opinion, because to me, how a man presents, like again, you can look at Gabby a certain way, and you know,
that Samuel L. Jackson look.
You know, and I could,
Right.
you know, even and all the kids, right?
My
Like
18
I could
like,
say something 15 times.
push
You
my
know,
stomach.
think about it with Isabel. We can Isabel, and then he come and her and Nova both, and they when Pawpaw say something, they
Because I bass in that voice.
you know, and
Get over here.
I don't even do that anymore. We have a counting system. When I do this to her,
No, Isabel be like 2, 3, 4.
But so level setting and understanding the history, what people have experienced, where people are, and y'all even now, you and Wendy talk all the time about the different parenting style. There's gentle parenting. There's this. There, like I don't even know. I have to be like, what? Like
Gentle, like the permissive, authoritarian.
So
I ain't
all
giving you permission to do jack. You finna do what I tell you to do.
But to that point, though, you can see how we have a range of, and we've talked about this before. We have different kids respond differently to different types of punishment and discipline. Right.
Let's not say
and
punishment.
So
let's say discipline.
Had we talked about that up front and sat down and okay, what's the kind of when you think about it, and we've said this before, I think it's like creating a business plan for your family, man.
Yeah.
After
understanding who's in what role, right?
You in the kitchen, you doing dishes.
But if you do it on the front end, if you're so like for Jayla, for you're able to, okay, wait, now here are some things that we need to sit down and discuss because I've lived this, I've experienced this, and we have learned through it. Again, thank God we made it to the other side. But let me put in the effort to avoid repeating,
So one thing I'd like to throw in as we were talking about discipline and something that you said triggered this, you said that there are other dads that you've heard of that what we have gone through as a family is absolutely nothing. But I just had an epiphany. The switch for me was not so much about discipline, but it was me learning how to manage my anger.
I think that's the biggest thing as a parent. I feel like when you have children, God wants to show you how to manage your emotions.
Yeah, because and Elder Walton told me that one time, remember, he told me, he said, never discipline out of anger. And it took me a minute to understand that. I did learn it, whether you believe me or not. It took me a minute to understand.
Oh, he learned it because when he calmly asked me tree or belt, we was playing basketball. I'm like, okay, I might not get in trouble. Tree or belt. Yeah.
So yeah, it took me some time to evolve, but I can tell you sitting here now that it's more about being able to, and I won't say anger, it's more about being able to control your emotions opposed to, the whole discipline piece, because discipline is still there. There's just a range of it. And once I figured out the leverage button, then I was like, aha, I'm on to something. So I figured out that Jalen's leverage was style, his shoes. He always wanted to be cute. And so if you're like, no, you can't wear them, or you took something away from him that allowed him to be what he wanted to be, I had him in a spot. Dominic was football. If you sat that boy down from football, I had him in a spot, and I could get whatever I needed out of him I can get him to comply because because I understood how to leverage, and I started beginning to operate more out of understanding the players opposed to me just erupting and expecting the players to comply. Mm-hmm. And so that's about managing those personalities, figuring it out. Gabby,
understanding your kids.
I just look at her. Dawson, I got to play mental chess with him.
That boy will really be like, so you really think chocolate milk comes from chocolate cows? Like, what?
That one day,
I'm the parent.
Right. He would always intellectually challenge me. I remember walking into the living room. He's lying on the floor. He's been there all weekend. I used to camp out with a pillow and a blanket. He's just watching movies. And I walked in there. I'm like, boy, don't you have some homework or something to do? He looked at me. He flipped over, opened his iPad. He's like, all A's, Dad. Put it down and start watching TV again. I was like, okay, I'm leaving the room now. But there's nothing I could do with that.
You looked at him like that dog meme that he was like.
But to that point, like, I know that it, when you're in a big family, and obviously in a big blended family, navigating the perspectives and emotions, like you started out by saying, y'all, Dawson and Gabby ain't, we had a chore board, and they really didn't have to do no chores because y'all got tired of parenting. There's a reality. There is a reality to it's you. Well, you do get tired. I'm not ever going to say you don't, because you do. And do you start to kind of
lax,
get off to the off ramp,
get more lax and come out? Well, because you like, number one,
but you learn.
That's why I went from 6 to 2. Because y'all ain't gonna burn me out, baby.
You learn how to manage better as you get older if you're smart enough.
choose to.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say.
Learn,
a big part of it is also, because I was trying to force a lot of things on you all that I had never tested by theory. I didn't know whether or not it worked. I just was doing what I thought based on perception of, well, you listen to people, you see things, you kids need structure. I started out parenting from trying to do the opposite of what I had experienced without, so it wasn't that I was trying to mimic what I had seen or experienced that it worked right. Oh God, here we go. We don't even know what you're laughing about.
I'm sorry.
And we're crying. Okay.
You need a tissue?
She said, this just came to my head. She said, you learn, you get advice, you're talking to people. And I can see her standing around the water cooler. I put little Billy's hand in a pencil sharpener.
Welcome. Big personalities. I don't, okay. So, as we continue.
He's going to cut the grass next time. Okay.
What? Okay, Tyrone.
She put his hand in a pencil sharpener so he could cut the grass. It's crazy.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm done.
Wow. All right.
Squirrel.
And this is what happens, like, regularly around here. Welcome
But
to Pickens Realities.
I can build a house with sticks and grass, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right.
So, fostering open communication while limiting heated, confrontations is another way to manage conflict, right?
Fostering
open communication while doing your best to limit the heated confrontation. So when we're talking about blended families and you're trying to navigate big personalities, different styles, different topics.
Sometimes you got to walk away when that happens.
Let her finish the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Please.
So when you think about our family, and what we're trying to say is figuring out the right way to create a family culture, right? That allows, because we've talked about how we did not have buy-in from the kids. We didn't ask you all, hey, what do you think about, within reason, right? And so it's kind of finding that midway point. Again, we came from that generation kind of more where kids were, seen and not heard, although my mom wasn't like gung-ho like that. It was, but you knew, where your line was.
Well, I say go.
But when we're trying to, express to people, hey, we tried it this way, that didn't work too well. But for blended families, especially, having the children that are involved be a part of figuring out and have some say-so at an appropriate level, right? So when you're trying to foster open communication without allowing it to be a ridiculous, minefield every day as far as confrontational, and you've got different personalities, and you're trying to, well, this wasn't like this before we moved in with you, you know what I'm saying? Or now I'm expected to do X, right? And so how do you create, how did we do, what was our experience, well, we know what it wasn't. I will start with Jayla again. How do we do with creating a family culture where feelings can be expressed, or how did we not do, from that perspective? What could we and should we have done differently, and how can we help people learn from that? When you're the importance of that. Does that make you see what I'm asking?
I just feel like growing up, it was just what we say go. Don't ask me any questions, because do as I say, not as I do. That's
For both of us? Because
I
again,
mean, you wasn't really the hammer down. You was the hammer down when it came to school. Yeah. He was the hammer down when it came to, oh, you want to go outside? Oh, you didn't clean your room. You're not doing nothing. Oh, you want to go do this? You didn't do this. You're not doing nothing. Like, he was more of the, like, when we want to go be active, we can't do nothing because we didn't do X, Y, and Z, or we didn't listen to what you said about homework, or whatever the case may be. And you were more so like, yeah, well, you didn't do your homework. You're not going to practice until you get your grade up in this class. So it's like,
okay,
so what I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so what, to Mom's second half, what could we have done better? Because it sounds like, did you resent, or did you think what we did deploy, did that work, did that not work? Number one. And then if it did or didn't, what could we have done better?
I feel like it did and didn't. I feel like what you could have done better, like with me and Wendy, I know y'all be, well, I don't even know about y'all, but my mom specifically, you new age parents, they got too much opinion for me. And it's just, no, giving your children autonomy over their thoughts and actions is a real thing. So that when it's time to speak up or say they don't like or do like or whatever, they not cowering and like, oh, I used to get beat up for saying I didn't like something. Y'all didn't beat us up for saying we didn't like something. But teaching your children at a young age, it's okay to say stuff. It's not what you say, but how you say it. You can tell me, hey, I don't want you to touch me right now, but you don't say, stop, get off me, get away from me. Like, it's, hey, I would like to not be touched right now. Can you please, you know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other big thing that I feel like is, especially like in big blended families with big personalities, something I've learned as a middle child is you just want to be heard. So everybody with all these big personalities and they gums slapping together, everybody just wants to be heard. So I feel like in a situation where everybody wants to be heard, you sit down and you have talking time. So like how people be having them talking sticks. Okay, if I have the talking sticks, I'm talking, you listen. And if it's that detrimental that you want to say something, write it down until I'm done talking.
Wasn't that high and low?
Yeah, I was about to say, but for us,
but
that was
shortened.
like
I
high
think
and
that-
low.
yeah, but
so
it-
we
but
could
I
get
think
inside
we
of each
could've-
other's brains. But with the high
We
and
could have
low, we
done
could
better,
have
kind of
dove
more
deeper.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say.
ask questions, expound on this, or why did you have a bad day because of school? Well, because I had to stay up all night to get homework in, and I still have other stuff, and I still, you know what I'm saying? So.
And I don't
And
know.
we didn't do like actual like we use high low was like a
Dinner
almost like a
time.
mini segment. You
Yeah,
know what I
at
mean?
dinner
As
time.
opposed to setting like a straight up family meeting time where you, hey,
But
this
I feel
is what we
like
gonna...
family meeting time wouldn't have really like worked for us.
But see,
Because of the
so then
personalities.
what do you think
We
well,
play
then how
too
would it
much.
look? Well, then how does it look?
That's
So
what
if
I
we're
said.
talking
I
to-
said high low, or it's talking or I feel like for any family, you really have to figure out how people like to communicate. So if we all like to communicate over games because that's what our family has done, all right, let's get a
Competitive, yeah.
good game in. Let's see what's going on. And then, so listen, guys, I just wanted to sit down with y'all today and just see where y'all at. What's going on mentally? You know, if you don't got too much to say, that's cool. If you do, let me know. Like, and keep an open line of communication in a form that everybody is comfortable with.
Thoughts?
No, I'm taking it all in and thinking of things that I can deploy with my grandchildren that I failed at with my children.
Stop saying you failed. Like, we're not bust down, broke, dirty, dingy people.
Okay.
I hate that y'all be like, I guess we're just the worst parents. Nobody said that. Like, everybody
Well, and
has stuff with their people.
I
Like, stop
say
saying
that.
that.
I say that carefully. I won't, because I don't allow you all to use the word fail, and I'm not going to say that. I'm hopeful that I'm hopeful that I have the opportunity to do better with my grandchildren than I did with my children. I tried I did do better with Dawson and Gabby, and my goal is to instill additional values with Isabel and Nova and Zeke and Xavier and Kendricks and Mahari
And
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 Isaac.
Isaac. You know, those,
And Braden
and
and
I was about
Evan.
to say in Braden Heaven, those are some of my goals. And I do remember that High Low was impactful because we had dinner together just about every evening.
Which I miss,
Yeah,
actually.
and actually Dawson misses
Sit-
it also.
yeah,
He's like, Dad,
sitting
I
down and
miss
having
us
dinner
having dinner
time
together
at a table,
at a table.
not on a couch
Right.
watching
But that
TV.
time of High Low did open it was a dialogue because, except for with Dominic, because he'd sit there for like 60 minutes.
we'd all be like, oh my gosh.
The potatoes are cold, bro. Answer
We'd
the
be
question.
getting up, throwing our stuff away,
Right.
just to be sitting there.
But that did give us a little bit of insight to what you guys were going through as much as you would share with us.
Yeah.
So that was another way to manage those personalities, were to create things like that that gave space.
But I also feel like if your kids are older, just being able to just be like, come on, let's go do something. Let's go talk. And they'd be like, why? No, it's just, come on, let's go talk. And I feel like when you low-key force your kid, grab them and take them somewhere, then their guard kind of gets let down. And that one-on-one time, that builds a bond with each person. And then you guys can come back collectively.
Yeah. And I know, again, we're getting low on time. I don't know what else you have, but
Well, one more thing that we'll expound on briefly, and then go ahead and land the plane, as we love to say. So, I think that another way to be able to manage conflicts up front in a blended family, so diffusing tensions early is yet another way that you can focus on being able to manage conflicts, right? So when you have, again, so many different, and again, we keep saying so many because we do have a large blended family, but it can still be stressful even if you just have 2 kids,
Yeah.
you know, and 2 parents, because you still got 4 people, you know, 4 different personalities going on, and whatnot. And so when you look at, you know, how, talk to me, and Ty, I'll start with you. You start with this first, and then Jayla, again, I would love your perspective on what you experienced, and then how you can take what you've learned and be kind of marinating on that as you're preparing for when your time comes, you know, what it looks like for you. But when how did we or didn't we, you know, start at any point in our family timeline, if you will, over 22 years, do with diffusing tensions early? Like,
so I think honestly, the biggest one was you and I. You were the largest personality that I had to deal with and overcome. We did not, while we did some preliminary stuff, we, you know, the whole bank account issue, you know, credit, bills, there were a lot, a lot of things that were going on. And I was more passive because, again, in my mind, I've done this before. And you were just kind of like, this is going to work. This is what I want to do. And I backed up and gave you that space, but almost to a fault. So learning how to manage this intelligent, powerful, beautiful mind. I mean, it was difficult to wrangle it. I mean, it was, because you're like a cute octopus. You were just everywhere. And it's like, man, how do I get this under control? And so
cute octopus. I need a shirt, Jayla.
Right.
Cute octopus.
And what does Isabel call him? A pocketpuss. Mm-hmm. So that was the most challenging personality for me to conquer. And, you know, just being able to come to a medium in the road is how I was able to keep us away from so much conflict. Because if you think about it, we really don't fight. We really haven't. We've had our biggest bones of contention early on was fiscal, because we had a bunch of people and we was trying to make it happen. The second was the kids. The third was religion. And as we started getting each one of those under control, as far as you and I, that managing that and diffusing conflict, it just kind of went, it kind of dissipated. And so even to this day, we may have, some little scrapes and, that here and there, but we really don't have any. As I think about it.
We've learned how to communicate much better.
Yeah.
And because I think we've built the level of trust that even if we disagree, we know how to do so respectfully, in a much more respectful manner than we did.
Except when I'd be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's annoying. But you're in the middle of a conversation and you're, okay, that's it, I'm done. Yeah, that's not respectful.
I take my ball and go home. All right, Jayla, what you got?
Re-ask the question.
So when you're looking at...
Need to pay attention.
I was paying attention. I was listening to what you were saying.
Diffusing tensions early is can be a key component to being able to manage conflicts in a blended family, right? And so when let's just take it from one, where do you think our family, our existing family, how have we done in the spectrum? Do we do that now? I know we didn't start out there because there's a lot. We were just unconventional in all
fools.
in every sense and sort of it. So have we gotten to that point from your perspective? Are we where we're able to diffuse tension? We identify stuff and then work to diffuse it early as a way to manage and avoid bigger conflict.
I feel like conflict wasn't really like in the beginning. I feel like the disciplinary actions wasn't conflict. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm saying so when you identify different tensions, right? So we're saying diffusing tensions helps to manage conflicts. Right. And so if you
but I'm saying like the disciplinary situation, I don't think that was necessarily like a tension that was like,
I
don't know how I depend on how I'm describing it in my brain, how I'm processing it. But as far as like siblings versus parents, like when siblings was having their issues, like we handle it amongst each other. Because shoot, what your parents ain't gonna do, we gonna do. You know what I'm saying? So we would handle it amongst each other. No, seriously, we used to fight. Like we used to have little fight rings. Like, okay, you mad at him? Y'all fight it out. Like, and y'all be upstairs in y'all room just we be downstairs boxing. But we handled that between ourselves, and I feel like that gave us some camaraderie amongst each other. So we're more likely to, yeah, that's just him being him, or she. That's why we look at Gabby and be like, girl, okay, I'm going to mind our business, because we don't let those tensions get super high. I feel like because when we were younger and like when Dom had his anger, boy, that was a tension in itself, a conflict, tension, everything, because his anger was just so like rampant sometimes that we'd really be like if people met Dom, if people could see who he was before now, people would be like, oh my gosh, how was he this guy?
That's my boy.
But I feel like more or less we all did really well with it. I feel like you guys also did well with like, well, I don't know if you indulged in saying that. Probably when it came to Gabby and Dawson, yes. But with the 4 older, I know you would always tell us, like, you don't ever not talk to your brother. You don't ever not
Yep.
talk to your
Yep.
sister. You don't ever
they've got
walk
the
out
same
this
message.
house not talking to your brother and sister. Period. Because when y'all walk out this house, it's y'all against everybody else. So I feel like that kind of also made it easier. Or even if we was beefing inside, when we walk outside, we're best friends, which it ultimately like lessened everything else. And we come back home, we go. Moving forward in my relationship, in the event that I, have like that type of situation, I honestly, it's really just communicating, open, just allowing everybody to have a safe space to be upset, allowing everybody to have a safe space to get what's off of their chest, in a respectful manner. But having a safe space to express when you're upset and going through a lot of stuff, I wish we could have had more of that.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have been so quick to go outside to get what we looking for at home.
That's fair.
I feel like if we would have had a safer space to be able to, even with you, like how Jaylen would always go to you and I would always go to Dad. It's just like, I wish we all had a safe space to go to both parties all the time and just be like, look, this is what it is. Because I feel like when you don't allow your children to be comfortable with you in every area, then they're going to be comfortable with someone else in a negative way.
That's good stuff, JP.
That's fair.
That's good stuff. I think we're on the ground. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So, and what you just expressed brings one of the final points home, which is paying attention to your family's emotional climate is hugely important.
Emotional climate. I like that.
Hugely important.
I like that. Emotional
And so,
climate.
understanding the dynamics of your family, understanding who is who and what is what will help you be able to diffuse tensions early as you are working to manage and limit conflict within a blended family. And so, like, yeah, it's hugely important. And so, as always, as we start to land this plane, I'm going to state what we always state, which is that, if you need outside help, to navigate this stuff and figure out your parameters, in how do you even get started with figuring, how to, with setting up a system and identifying the different categories to be able to, limit and manage the conflicts within your blended family, then
Call
get the
Elder
help
Walton.
that you need.
Talking about call
Dad is
it.
retired.
He gonna be like, boy,
call
why are you sending these people to me?
But
My burner phone is off.
man, again, we counseling can't say it enough, and find that wise, trustworthy professional counseling and spiritual counseling, if that's for us, we had both.
I was gonna say, I don't care what nobody say. Go to church, get God. Like, when you get your own personal relationship with God, I don't care how hood you is. I don't care nothing. When you get your own personal relationship with God and you go to God before anything, like, you could really just be in a room and just cry, and God will hear your teardrops.
That's real.
Like, go to God. Like, people are people. People are judgmental. And don't get me wrong, there are spiritual advisors that will lead you in the right direction. But if that's not something, if you're one of those people where you don't want people in your business, put God in your business. And he will make it work out. And he will talk to you how you will receive it. I'm sorry.
I'm going to have you sign my shirt after this.
I'm sorry. I just...
Well,
this
that
is
was,
Jayla's show.
Again, it's when conflicts happen, you have to choose not to allow some of the usual things that may crop up in blended families, such as, oh, it's me versus my stepmom, or me versus, my stepdad, or, my kids versus her kids, that kind of, you know, in the
Yeah.
natural, there are areas, easily identifiable areas of opportunity for division in a
Yeah.
blended family.
Yeah.
And you have to choose not to allow those things to be prevalent
Yeah.
and to split your family up when you are working, you know, to manage conflicts in a blended family where there's bound to be, you know, lots of big personalities in a big blended family, right? So what would be the one thing that you would leave as a takeaway, Ty?
Man, I think Jayla's. I think she's put the bow on the carve. Man, I'll just take a page out of your book. Put the work in.
Absolutely.
Get to know each party. Intentionally get to know each party. Don't do it because it's the process or it's what somebody wants you to do, but do it because you want the relationship to survive with the children, with the spouse. And I don't know that we've talked about this. I hope that we will at some point, but also the new extended family. Get to know the people that you're going to spend the rest of your life with so that you can spend the rest of your life with them.
That's fair.
So, JP.
I don't have much. Oh, well, I will say, what was I just saying? When you're dealing with somebody that has another child, the closest way to their heart is to learn their child and love their child and be there for their child, whether they have the active parent or not. Like, be there for that kid. That kid comes with the person. It's a
Yeah.
package deal. You can't be there for the person and not for their kid and expect there not to be a problem. So,
That's fair. Well, we gonna leave it with that, y'all. And again, when it's normal in blended families, you got a big family, you're gonna have big personalities, and so managing conflict as a way to create and maintain a healthy family culture and environment is super important. So we hope that you all have learned some additional tidbits to be able to take away from today. And
We've learned about stuff to argue about when we get off these cameras.
Good communication with fair expectations is a key takeaway that you can work on as you are learning how to manage conflict within your blended family. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all on the next rip.
What is that? Subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
like, comment, share, subscribe, turn our post notifications on. We'll be back with another video. Bye.
Peace.